have to start paying attention to what's happening in our physical selves. So the first step inward in the willingness to go there is beginning to calm our nervous system down. So I'm wondering, Laura, if I could just show you really quickly something that can help you to start calming right here in this moment.
Please.
Okay, so come to the edge of your seat, put your feet flat on the ground, and just imagine as if your feet were connecting in with the earth. And then what we're going to begin to do is just place hands over heart center. And just get a sense of your hands resting on your chest. Begin to bring that awareness into how you're breathing, noticing the rise and fall of your chest through your hands. And see if you can kind of pick up your heartbeat. Move your hands to another place until you count that heartbeat. And then we're going to begin with a long exhalation, exhaling through your nostrils. Release it out. Deeply inhale through your nostrils into your belly. Filling in through your lungs. Exhale again through the nostrils, pulling your belly towards your spine. Release any distractions from your lungs. Inhale once again, bringing your awareness to your feet, resting on the ground. Last exhalation, releasing and letting the air flow outward. Beautiful. And then just let your hands settle down to your lower belly. Feel your hands just gently grounding you through your lower belly. And stay connected to that sensation of your feet, just anchoring you to the ground. Now you're here in your body. You're not out there in the world. You're here in your breath. So when we get into this place, what we've just done on a neuroscience level is we've calmed one of the longest nerves in our bodies down, called the vagus nerve. That's the nerve that keeps us looking out here and keeps our brains spinning such that it makes it hard to go inward. So now that we've calmed that, we've already told our brain that we're in a safe space. And it's only when we feel safe that we can give ourselves permission to go inward.
I love that. I hope people at home did that because I feel like I'm really connected right now. I'm curious because you said, is it called the vagus nerve?
The vagus nerve. It's kind of like Las Vegas, but it's spelled a little different.
So you said, that we grounded that, and that's also the nerve that gets stimulated by the outside world. Is that right?
Absolutely.
So is there a either or? Like we have to be grounded, and if we're not, we're out here? It's either or.
Not necessarily. There's a spectrum. That nerve could be vibrating way out here and so scattered that you cannot focus on anything. Or it can be activated more on this side of the spectrum where you're not centered or grounded, but you're also not so scattered and focused that you can't bring thoughts together and touch into your feelings and your emotions or your spiritual aspects of self. So there's a spectrum of that. It's not an either or. And it's kind of that question of where are you landing on your level of activation of that nerve and your level of ability to kind of pull yourself inward. So, because we fall out of being centered all the time. So if it were the case that every time we're not centered, that nerve is going to take us outward.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of kind of training us to have longer and longer states of both centeredness and calmness in that nerve. That's a great question.
Is your brain actually operating at a higher, is firing and wiring at a higher level? Or what's the purpose of us doing that?
So we know that from studies of the brain, when we achieve more of the meditative state, where our brain waves flow into a frequency that's called alpha, or deeper states are theta. And we also find that when we study the brains of creative artists, when they're in that zone playing perhaps the piano, or they're in that zone painting, that their brains are very much similar to monks when monks are in that deep state. So when we allow ourselves that moment to kind of gather ourselves, begin to bring our attention back to our breath, to our bodies, we allow the brain to go into its most creative brain frequency states.
I love that. I love your energy.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's the best. I'm curious in regards to that, something I talk about on the show is that the show is for creatives, right? But the idea is to get people a little bit out of the traditional concept of what it is to be a creator, because we're all creators, right? If you're not a painter or a singer, people are like, oh, I don't create. And it's like, yes, you do, but you don't know it. And a big intention of mine with this show is to get people thinking in a creative space, whether they make art or it's just about creating their life. So I'm wondering if maybe you could touch on that, about how going in and the willingness to go in is helping us create, whether we are singers or painters or just creating our life and being intentional.
Absolutely. When we give ourselves that permission to go inward and we achieve that brain state that is closer to meditative states, what happens is that it allows us a great expansiveness in terms of our thinking and how we put ideas together. So, and I love that, because a lot of people always get, well, Kay, I don't do art and I don't do music and I'm just not a creative type. Well, guess what? Anytime you're using your imagination to solve a problem, you're being creative. Anytime you're putting two ideas together or language together to express a thought that you may have, you're being creative. It's just the idea of being able to kind of tap in to what you're feeling and finding a way to express that. And sometimes, it may be that accountant that is finding a way to solve a client's financial problem and they're using math to do that. That's a form of creativity. It may be when you're in a relationship, finding a way to navigate a conflict with another person and doing that in a way that's with love and with the idea of growth. That's creativity. So when we really give ourselves that permission to go inward, there's a whole toolkit of things that come available to us to move us through being able to create new ways of expressing ourselves in whatever arena of life that we're moving through.
What would you tell somebody, a viewer or somebody who's like, that looks like it feels good, but I got a lot of cobwebs and stuff I'm scared to go in and deal with that? What would you say to them about that?
It's funny, how do we define what that willingness is, right? We have to start looking at, what does that really mean to will? It simply means to allow yourself the opportunity to take even just baby steps. That willingness doesn't have to look like this huge big thing where you're jumping into the deep end. That willingness might be, I'm going to sit and just notice my breathing with my hands on my chest for the first step of going inward. And then as I sit with my hands on my chest, I'm going to start to notice, what emotions am I feeling in this moment?
Hey, love lights. If you're finally ready to kick that victim mentality and embrace your innate worthiness to have and do and be everything you've dreamed of, I totally got your back. Join us in this live weekly group mastermind to set and crush your goals, break down limiting beliefs, and embrace your worthiness. This group mastermind is for anyone who wants to create a life they love. It is live every week, and spots are extremely limited, so I can dedicate my time to those of you who are really serious about taking control of creating and living your best life. You're also going to get a copy of my 30-day Will and Creative workbook. It is a fillable PDF, so you can download it right to your phone so you can keep yourself accountable to your goals every single day. So click the link in the description, and I'll see you in the mastermind.